Session, we would like to discuss the perspectives in culture and identity under the Philippine context, experience, and framework. So I hope that you will find ideal points and new knowledge probably in this discussion. So basically, I would like to highlight some features of Philippine architecture and Southeast Asian architecture, and how our architecture or the styles used in building homes of these countries or places in Southeast Asia have resemblance or reflect the culture of the people, and how the people have evolved and have adapted to their environment, and how these architectural features reflect ingenuity and creativity of these people. Okay, so let me start with opening my PowerPoint slide. Wait a minute. I'm gonna make it bigger. All right, here we go. We have to present it this way. So this is the first page of it. So the goal is to revisit common concepts in culture and identity. So we'll have to redefine culture and identity. We also have to identify the interconnectedness of several disciplines in cultural studies and appreciate the unique culture of the Philippines and its dynamic evolution across time, experience, and social development. And finally, we'd like to identify ways to enrich the introduction, discussion, and activities in teaching culture, society, and identity to specified target learners. So first, the thing is we have to enrich our understanding about culture, material culture, and other things. And then the second layer would be you as teachers. What strategies and activities you would like to devise or create to introduce these topics or concepts to your target learners? So you have to think about your target learners, their teaching style, their generation, and their interests most likely. How are you going to make the teaching of culture and places more interesting to them? All right, so what is culture? So if you look into this photo, you could actually see the diversity of the people, the humanity. So you get to see here, I can identify that using these symbolisms, hijab, you would surmise that this is a Muslim woman. You could actually surmise that this guy is Peruvian because of the poncho. So the clothing here is poncho, and of course the hat. This one is Chinese. This is from Hawaii because of the lei and the flower on her head. And this is probably from Middle East or Eurasia. This is an Eskimo from Alaska, a monk in Southeast Asia, and all the like stuff. So yeah, these are all representations. So clothing also is an aspect of culture and tradition. Clothing and even like tattooing. So this is really a big thing. So there are lots of aspects within the culture that can be studied upon. For example, clothing, how clothing can be a form of expression and can be a carrier of identity. We could also look into tattooing and how tattooing is not a taboo in some other cultures, but to the Westerners, it is a taboo. So, yeah. So within the culture, we have a lot more ideas and aspects or subfields that we'd like to discuss. First, we have art, drama, music, or literature. We also have food, or what we call food culture. We have faith and religion, or the belief systems, behavior, how certain people within the group behave or decide or think. Rituals are activities that we do. These are actions that we do. For example, the rituals that we do now are graduations, weddings, the ceremonies that we're accustomed with, the customs that we do. And in the Philippines, we call it pagmamano. Mano is means hand in Spanish. So you literally take the hand of an elderly people, and put their hand on your forehead as a sign of respect to them. Attitudes, beliefs, and language. So yeah, so what is culture anyway? So this is actually a mix about culture. So you can see here behavior, something that is learned, something that is shared, and patterns. Why patterns? Because basically, the older members of one particular community must teach the ways of living or the ways of knowing to the younger members of their generation. Okay, so the Cambridge University or Cambridge Dictionary define culture as the way of life. The way of life. So especially, this means that it pertains to general customs and beliefs of a particular group of people at a particular time. It also refers to the attitudes, behavior, opinions, etc. of a particular group of people within a society. And on a larger scale, we can look at it as music, art, theater, literature, and all the like stuff. But culture is not limited to something that you can touch, something that we can see, something that we can take picture of. Well, on a larger scale, material culture are the physical aspects of a society. These are the things that we can see. The ancestral houses in the Philippines, the kalesa, what else? The bahay kubo. These are all aspects of our culture, and even our boats. The balangay, or our boats, a typical bangka is actually an aspect of our culture, and jeepney. It's a very controversial topic in the Philippines now because a lot of legislators would like to phase out the jeepneys, but jeepneys could also be seen as symbols of our cultural identity. And yes, we are not against modernity, and we are not against any effort to neutralize our carbon emission or to reduce our carbon emissions and footprints. But definitely, we would like to help other people, especially the drivers, whose lives and livelihood would be affected. So we would like to have a more inclusive jeepney modernity program that is intact with all the other aspects involved in the modernization of jeepneys. Okay, so going back, since we say that material culture are physical aspects of a society, something that we can touch, something that we can see, and something that are preserved, these are all objects that surround us. And even like religious relics, like when you visit churches or cathedrals, or like for example in Manawag, the Basilica Minori Manawag, you could actually see there the relics, and these are of course in a way material cultures, part of it. Okay, but on the other hand, we also have something that we call intangible cultural heritage. So I want you to focus at this word intangible. What does it mean? Intangible means something that you can't hold, something that you can't hold, something that you can't touch in a way. But these are practices. These are the things that we do. These are the things that we believe. These are the things that we perform that reflect something about our cultural heritage. So the UNESCO defined cultural heritage as this: traditions or living expressions inherited from our ancestors and passed on to our descendants, such as oral traditions, performing arts, social practices, rituals, festive events, knowledge, and practices concerning nature and the universe, or the knowledge and skills to produce traditional crafts. So I want you to look at into your communities. What practices are there that are passed on from older generations up to your generation? One practice of one of the practices that we do is traditional healing, panggagamot. Yeah, traditional healing or panggagamot. It On the other hand, it is called shamanism or Philippine shamanism. But these are old practices that we do that are still carried on. Sometimes people would say, prone upon when they get to see a person who, seek healing from these quack doctors, as they say. But not necessarily that they knew nothing, because they may have, intangible cultural knowledge or indigenous knowledge about healing, for example, in massage or hilot. These are all part of it. And even like tattoos in the Cordillera. What else? Even the crafts that we do. I think one of these is the sugar cane, how we extract sugar cane before using the darapilan. That's one. We also have salt making industry. We also have ceramics, making of bricks in Pangasinan. We also have handicrafts, and we also have traditional delicacies like the tupig, the pakashat or something. These are all forms of muscovado sugars, and all the like stuff. What else do we have? The handicrafts that we do, and even like the sculptures in Bulacan. There are lots of furniture designers there who have intricate and original designs of inukit or sculptured furnitures. Yeah, these are reflective of our culture. And also we have textiles. So if you can visit Baguio City, please go to UP at the University of the Philippines Museum, Museo Cordillera. So you could actually see there an ethnographic museum showcasing the textiles of Northern Luzon. So I hope you could actually enjoy the fashioning of textiles of the Northern Luzon people in the museum. Okay, so here, while I was talking about the focus on Philippine culture, ethnic and Western, I was like trying to fuse that the Philippine culture is really a fusion of Western and ethnic or indigenous. Why is that so? Because there were parts of the country that were not colonized or fully colonized because of resistance, like the Bangsamoro in the south and the northern provinces of Cordillera. They have preserved their culture and it was intact. And there were people who had been practicing cultural identities like tattooing, like Apo Wang Ud. So she's the oldest member of tattoo artists of her generation who have continued the practice of tattooing. So before, the Philippines was called Islas de Pintados by the Spaniards because the people all the way from north up to the south, even from the Visayas, wear tattoos. Okay, so there was a study that since then, since we were Christianized or proselytized and become Christians, and then clothing was introduced to us. So instead of putting the designs of these tattoo to our body, we're able to put the designs in the textile or clothing. So if you would look into the patterns of the textiles that we do, they resemble the tattoo patterns that these people had been putting on their skin. I repeat, the tattoo patterns that you can find on their skin are the same or resemble to the designs in the textiles. All right. So these are all examples of the social dynamics that we have because of the Western influence and, of course, our Hispanization. But as I said, in certain regions, autonomy is awarded to them because they have preserved and maintained their indigenous knowledge, practices, and identity using various forms of resistance. Like this one, so if we had to refer into a particular material culture that we have that we could say unique to a certain place, we could look into this photo. Are you familiar? So you get to see here that at the center of this particular circular setting, there is a bonfire. What is this? You might have seen this in the northern Luzon or Mountain Province or Baguio City. It is called Dapay or Dapayan. Okay, so the structure is this circular. People will have to sit around this area, and on that area, they have to gather to discuss affairs of the state or affairs of the community. So we have this the Dapayan. So Dapayan really functions this way. People have to gather, circular, sit down, and then there's a bonfire. They have to talk or discuss the matters concerning the community. That was an indigenous material culture. When Spain arrived, we were Hispanized, and of course, we've been, you know, the most westernized country during the 18th, 17th, and 18th century in Asia. And of course, these manifest in our structures and architecture, such as this Manila Cathedral and this gate at Intramuros in Manila. These are all part of our cultural heritage. And aside of that, we also have other, features of material culture that we worship somehow if you are a Catholic. But I'm not a Catholic, so yeah. Okay. The NCCA have awarded Manawag Church a distinction as a cultural heritage, and even the Quiapo Church, and of course, the holy relics, as they say it. Okay, but that's not limited there. The Spanish influence is not only limited to architecture but also on food culture. So what is this? This one is pochero. This one is mechado. This one is sarsado with tomato paste or something. Okay, so before I thought that the Ivatan houses were actually indigenous or older and original creations of the Ivatan people, but it's not. When the Spaniards have occupied the islands of Batanes, they taught the people of Batanes or the Ivatan people how to build their homes using limestones. So the Spaniards taught the Ivatan people how to build homes like this. But originally, the Ivatan people have an ijang. An ijang is called the pre-Hispanic rock fortress and settlement of the Ibatans. If you look into this photo, it's like a square shape and then flat on top. So people long ago live here on top. This becomes a watchtower. A high place is used to guard the entire village and to warn the people that invaders or marauders are coming. So somebody has to be stationed on top of it, and so all the rest would be ready or would be warned when a threat is coming or enemies are coming, probably. Okay, so yeah, the community probably lived here. There's a community that live here or live at the at the bases at the basin the base of the Ijang. Somehow they are called pre-Hispanic Batanes castles, but it's not really appropriate. It's more like a fortress. In East Asia, we also have traditional houses of the Japanese people. This is the inner courtyard in Japan. So if you could visit someday, this is typical Japanese alley and the old Japanese houses here, and the lanterns and the architecture, the roofing, it's all made of wood. These are all bonsai plants. Of course, the Japanese garden and the Zen garden. This is actually a moss. So this is all glass. And that serves for ventilation. This is a typical Japanese room. So each of these styles have corresponding terms or terminologies. I forgot what are these. This is a Japanese art. So this is a tatami room. This is what we call tatami mat. Okay, you get inside here and you get to see this. It's really arranged this way. Sometimes we don't have this. Other houses have an altar or Shinto priest, or I'm sorry, Shinto or Buddhist, religious relics here somehow. And it's the same as oratorio in a typical ancestral house in the Philippines. An oratorio is a place where people, the members of the family, will gather and pray at 6 o'clock in the evening. So the same thing, if a Japanese house has this, gods and images that they worship and pray for. This is a traditional house in China. It's called Hakka Ufudian Tulu. It's a circular dome or dome-like structure with 5 to 7 floors, and 100 families lived here. They love to live together. The Chinese people love to live together. That's how they build their communities. So some families, like the ones that are engaged in business and became wealthy, they were able to build big houses with courtyards, like the Wang family's grand courtyard. In Korea, we also have these houses. The unique thing about traditional Korean houses is that they have a heating system. So remember that winter hits hard in Korea. So these people need heating system. So there is actually a heating system beneath or under the flooring of these traditional houses in Korea. And these are traditional houses in Africa, made of bricks and grass. The roofing somehow is made of grass. Well, of course, in the Philippines, we're also using coconut leaves for the bahay kubo. This is wigwams from the North Americas. Turf hats. This is the igloo of the Inuit people. And in the Middle East, we have these houses made of bricks, traditional houses in Oman, and traditional houses in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. And in Southeast Asia, we have this triangular feature of the roofing. That is also same with what we can find in Baguio City. This is in Sumatra, Indonesia, and it is typically elevated. Why do you think so? Probably to elevate it from flooding. Yeah, actually it's true because we are in a tropical climate, so rainwater expected to be more. So yeah, so what's the purpose of the under the base of this? So animals could be taken care of under the base of the house. This is in Thailand. This is a much modern version of a house, and this one is in Vietnam. This one is in Cambodia. And of course, Cambodia has a World Heritage Site. This is called the Angkor Wat. It is one of the most massive, well-preserved temples in the whole world, built by the Khmer Empire. So in the Philippines, we also have the same triangular patterns like in this picture. This is a Philippine traditional house in Ifugao, and this design has been replicated in some shelters or waiting sheds in Baguio City, and even the Baguio Convention Center have adopted or has adopted this style of Philippine traditional roofing or houses. So we got here. And in Maranao, I think this house that I am showing to you is considered a mansion. This is where Araha lives. This one is big already. And if you have visited the National Museum, this is ukir. Ukir is an art form used to sculpture or used to carve woods. Yeah, it's actually based on myth. So they have myths or mga alamat and mga talinghaga or something like rituals which depict the power of their deities. So this is actually wings or wing-like carved wood as an accent or ornament of the house. For the Manobo, these are houses built on stilts. Okay, so this is a stilt house in Mindanao. So one time when I was like traveling with my mom, and then we passed by a house in Binmalay, and these houses were actually stilt houses. So my mom thought of, where do they pee? Where do they, where's the restroom? So I don't know. So if you'd like to look into that, probably the environmental hazard and sanitation is at risk, because in stilt houses we can just really monitor how the movement of the people or of the people that live there could actually be sustained, like disposal of human waste and fecals or something, feces, something. So this is what I'm talking to you, like in Binmali, Pangasinan. Some people live, under the water, not really under the water. Some people live at stilt houses, and we just can't figure out where the toilet is. So where does the waste go? Where do the waste go? To the river or to the water, probably. Okay, so well, aside of that, we also have ancestral houses. These are our treasures, Filipino Spanish ancestral houses. This is a man-made natural sites in the UNESCO World Heritage Sites. We have at least 3 classifications of UNESCO World Heritage Sites. So first, I'll tell you about the cultural heritage sites, like the Parthenon and Temple of Athena in Greece. These are man-made structures. We also have the Colosseum in Rome. We also have the Roman Aqueduct in Segovia, Spain. I'm sorry. So this aqueduct serves as a water reservoir, not really a water reservoir, serves as a way to carry water from the reservoir to the people or to some cities. This is actually a World Heritage Site in Spain. And of course, Mount Fuji in Japan, it's a natural site, but it is considered a World Heritage Site under mix or cultural site. Okay, so this one is cultural site. Mount Fuji has inspired writers, artists, and all the other people, and even religion. So it has have immense influence to Japanese culture. It is an important symbol in a Japanese culture. This is Kiyomizu-dera Temple in Kyoto, Japan. I've been here. I've seen this. This is Todaiji Temple in Nara, Japan. This is also a World Heritage Site. And so finally, we have culture and natural, and the other types of the three types or classifications of cultural heritage. So cultural heritage, built by humans, most likely buildings and relics. National heritage, including natural sites or areas. And luckily we have them in the Philippines. Our natural heritage sites are three, or I think, yeah, three. We have the Tubataha subterranean, yeah, Tubataha Reef, the Palawa, Puerto Princesa underground river, and what else? We have eight, I guess. Yeah, the churches, the Pawai churches, cultural heritage. Of course, those are cultural heritage and mixed heritage sites. So, finally, I'd like to say that culture is around us. Look around, observe, feel, and taste culture. If you have any questions, please reach out to me or send me a DM or write an email. See you next time.